question for you, Andrew. How many of the English Premier League teams are majority British owned?
That's a good question. I'm going to say off the top of my head 0. I mean, I may be wrong, but I remember a few years ago there was a statistic that at least half were American owned or majority owned. That's just a very good question. I'm not 100% sure. Do you actually know for certain?
4.
I'm actually encouraged by that. I'm surprised it's as many as 4, which tells its own story. Well, look, let's focus on that rather than the British minority-owned clubs because I prefer perhaps.
11 clubs are majority US owned. One is Chinese, of course, that's Wolves. The Sunderland, of course, is owned by, well, it's a mix of ownership with a former South American person there with a French Swiss guy. Of course, Spurs are owned by Zorba, the Greek. The Saudis own Newcastle with Newcastle. Abu Dhabi own, of course, Man United. We know that. By the way, Red Bull have quite a stake in Leeds, which is extremely worrying. But we know Everton, their own, Crystal Palace are US owned, Chelsea US owned, Burnley US owned, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, and Arsenal, of course, all US owned, Man United as well. And the British owned clubs, Brentford, Brighton, and Hove Albion. I was going to say Man United, that's not true. Spurs and West Ham. Of course, West Ham have a very big Czech investor in there. As you start to drop down the divisions, that's where it gets worrying because, for example, well, we know that Birmingham are US owned, Blackburn Indian owned, well, Indian British. Bristol City, we mentioned already, they are English owned, Coventry British owned, and then Charlton is all a big mix in there as well. And of course, the fun bit, that guy, Michael B. Jordan, who we mentioned earlier on, who owns part of Alpine, he also owns part, I'm just blanked it now, who is he own part of? Bournemouth.
Well, I think
Bournemouth.
I think the most interesting ownership story that we've actually not mentioned yet, possibly, and this is quite definitely not British owned, is Swansea themselves. A mixture of, well, I would say Jamaican, but okay, technically American and Croatian owned with Mr. Luka Modric and Snoop Dogg himself. What a pair investing in Swansea. Would you say no to Modric and Snoop Dogg?
Exactly. And look, let's put it this way. It's always interesting because, I mean, you got to like to say Middlesbrough, who've been under Steve Gibson for a long, long time. I mean, he's been there for a long time. Hull, who are under Turkish ownership. Oxford, who are under Indonesian ownership. You got Portsmouth, of course, American. Queen's Park Rangers, one of the richest people in the world, Lakshmi Mittal. Sheffield Wednesday, we know now they're in all sorts of trouble. They had a tie chair. So, but even as you go into, as you mentioned, to League One, then it starts getting even more kind of crazy with, like, Germans owning Bradford City, a combo of British, Indian, Australian, and American owning Barnsley. Vincent Tan, of course, with Cardiff City. I think he owned part of Salford City for a while as well. And it continues on down the whole way through the divisions. I mean, the best for me is Wycombe Wanderers, which is owned by a Georgian Kazakh, which I thought was just brilliant. Like, when I was going, wait, hold on. It's the same guy who this is a weird one, I actually met quite a few years ago in Moscow. And I met him and sat and talked with him. And this guy is extremely wealthy and he owns Wycombe Wanderers. So, yeah, just it's a very, very strange one. Very, very strange one. Okay.